Alright there, so the last thing that we're going to look at in the evaluation is techniques that I've employed in this actual edit. I've touched these briefly throughout the different videos that I've made and that you've seen, but now we're just going to look at them a little bit more fine-tuned. So the first thing I want to talk about is third-party sourcing. And what I mean by that is taking material from companies that produce things such as title generators, transitions, and text effects. So what this is like going to websites such as FXX Pro and just looking through their catalogue of amazing designers that are publishing things royalty free for us to use. So I spent a few hours, a couple of nights just trying to source material which I would think would work perfectly for this trailer. Just to take a look at some of the things that I've actually used is a real standout in this is the coding text. It is pretty much a standout theme in this whole trailer because the decoding is a government factor and it works perfectly. And like I said, it just took a little time for me to search around for something that I would find work. The second thing that we need to look at is the post roll, which as we can see is this. Now, I can't take full credit for this, I would like to, but graphics design, motion design, that isn't what my forte is. Now, that's not to say I put a lot of work into this, because I did, but this was originally a template, that's the best way to describe it, and then I went in there and fine-tuned the text, the background, like the lens flares, to how I saw that it would work the best. And this was found just through a YouTube search, to be honest. It wasn't from an FX Pro or anything, and there was an extremely talented man that was making these After Effects templates and just throwing them out there for people to use, and I thought this one would work much better than what we have in the original. So that's my first technique that I used, which is just third-party sourcing. Second thing I want to look at is at the 122 mark, so if you bear with me while I find that. And here we go. I'm just going to zoom into the timeline a little bit. As you can see here, and that you'll hear when you watch it, there's a big block of program audio here. But if we stop it at this point here, and then also here, you'll see that there's a big gap between what he's saying, and that's because of the dramatic effect. But then if you listen to that on its own, you will really notice the dip and the raise in audio, and it will kind of draw you out of the trailer. So all I've done is brought in another audio track and brought in some room tone, which breaks up, well, it stops the breakup in audio. And again, this is so easy. You just literally go into music, and we have a whole library of stuff. Go into ambience, and just take a look around and you'll find something that works. The third thing that I want to look at, and our old favourite of this whole series, is the title generators, which we have used more times than a wipe in Star Wars. And I'll use these because I put a lot of effort into these, and something that I've used as a technique is the manipulation of the generators. And what I mean by that is, this isn't just I've picked a generator from there and I've just dropped it and I left it alone. I've actually gone in and fine-tuned it, which I touched previously on development, but we'll look at it a little bit more now. So as you can see, it's a fabric. I've gone in there, I've chose leather 2, I've put a tint colour of black on there, and then I've also adjusted the tint amount to what my suiting is. And then also we've put a blur on there, which is a Gershwin, just to kind of isolate that background and really bring the text out. So what I want you to really understand here is that sometimes when you watch material and you see a background, you're just like, well, that work's already been done for him, but I just want to define that I have spent some time trying to perfect and master what that will look like. Whenever you're using a soundtrack in anything, it is important to mark out where the peaks and the drops in sound levels are, and there's no more perfect tool than this than markers. As you can see, I've gone a little marker crazy in this production, But because it's a trailer, then that's just what you have to do. Every time I thought there was a peak or a break, I just threw a marker in there. And what that allowed me to do is, because I did that first, when I'm inserting the footage and there's a scene that I really like, and it's like, oh well, I'll match it up with the marker of that peaking music. And markers and footage, they just go hand in hand. And another technique, which it should be accustomed to everyone really, but just to touch on it really quickly, it's just the adjustment of sound levels. So as you can see at these points here, I'll just bring it down a little bit, here, here, and like here and here. That is because we have audio there, so we don't want the soundtrack to destroy and drown out that audio, so we need to draw it out. So the last things that I want to mention here, and something vital to trailers again, is cutting to soundtrack. And a perfect example of that is at 2:15. So I'll just bring it forward a little bit and you'll know this scene perfectly. I've already touched on it earlier, but I'll just let this play for a moment and you can find a moment in my trailer. We have this little black screen and then 2:15 right there. There's a really big peaky music that sets us up for obviously the last scene. And just one last point that I want to touch on before we finish is the manipulation of time. The beauty of editing is that we can draw clips from different points and stick them together as if they happened in that sequence when we know that they didn't. But we can use that tool to manipulate a story and use it how we want to. So I'll just let this play for a minute. At 2:34, we have a clip of Dr. Shearing, and she screams, "Aaron!" Now, she doesn't say that in context to what we're watching now on screen. She says it about Aaron trying to escape a hotel room. But I've used it in a way that, as you can see now, it looks like she's screaming for Aaron to save her from the cops, but that's not what really happens. So I'm just going to stop the video though, and I hope you liked this video series, and I hope that you like the final trailer. So again, my name's been Anthony Tranton. It's been a joy, and I'll see you again soon.